It's going to be a short little video about my ATO system. And on my sump downstairs, I've got a 16-gallon conical polypropylene tank as a top-off reservoir. And I've got a little pump inside of it that's a little Jabo little utility pump that was used for a waterfall, decorative waterfall that we no longer use. So it's a perfect size, pumps just fine, been using it for years now, been very reliable. And what I did was I modified the tank. I went ahead and drilled a hole for a fill line, and I drilled a hole next to the flange here to be able to run my electric down to it. As you can see, it's a little cloudy. I've got Kalkwasser in the ATO water, and keeping this covered keeps the precipitation from happening. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Get the threads just right. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. Okay, so the way it works is that the electrical line for the pump runs all the way back here, and it goes over to a breakout box, which is on the back of this right here, okay, which is the switch. And then that electrical line from the switch goes over to that power strip. And the float valve, electronic float valve, is right here. So the big one, the big looking PVC pipe in that is a float valve, just like the one on the left. And when the water level drops in this portion of the return of the sump, then it kicks on that electrical circuit and allows the little pump inside the reservoir to pump water into the system. The little float on the left is a redundant float, and that float is meant that if there's a failure, say I get a snail up inside of that, the big main float, then what would happen is it would pump water into the system up to a point and overflow the system, but this valve right here, the switch I should say, then would float up and then turn off the electric to the pump and stop a flood. The fill pipe, or the fill tube, comes up, and I kind of got it just running in here, and then I got a little valve on it so I can control the flow, so that I don't dump a whole lot of water all at one time into my refugium here. So I can make it work real quick, and you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up on this, and it's going to kick that switch on, and there it goes. And it just comes out kind of slow. And the reason for that is the water that's in the ATO reservoir, its DKH is very high, so I want that to dump in there very slowly. That way it can mix with all this and not shock the system by having a lot of alkalinity increasing. So that's basically it in a nutshell. This particular auto top-off electronic float switch was purchased from autotopoff.com. They've got a lot of different solutions for a lot of different tanks, and I highly recommend them. I've been using them for decades. Extremely reliable. Never had a failure with one, and I would recommend them. The whole system has to be kind of DIY to some degree. It's not completely just you know, set it up and plug it in and it works. You have to have a return pump, and that's basically it. I mean, just the pump and just the switch and the floats. but it's pretty good value and it works very, very well, so I highly recommend it. So that's the overview of the ATO system on my tank, and thanks for watching.